War Sovereign Soaring the Heavens, Chapter 781. Even if it were second-rate powers in the foreign lands, they would more or less possess one or two martial monarch stage experts. Perhaps the Skywolf Fort was a local tyrant at the border of the foreign lands. But in the entire foreign lands, it could only be considered to be a third-rate power. It was even to the extent that it was even inferior to many third-rate powers at the central area of the foreign lands. Even second-rate powers of the foreign lands would fight for the sake of a Grade 2 alchemist. So there were very few Grade 2 alchemists that would willingly lower themselves to a third-rate power like the Skywolf Fort. After all, no one wouldn't hope to move to a higher position. If a Grade 2 alchemist was willing to join Skywolf Fort, the Skywolf Fort would utterly not refuse, nor did it have any reason to refuse. I've really been thinking in such a limited way, to the point I actually forgot this. Duan Lingtian laughed bitterly in his heart. At the critical moment, he'd actually forgotten that he was already a Grade 2 alchemist and Grade 2 weapons craftsman. No matter if it was Fenway or Dongguo Lei, they weren't surprised when they saw Duan Lingtian take out a Grade 3 life recovery pill. Not to mention the Skywolf Fort possessed many Grade 3 alchemists, even the Dongguo clan had one. So long as one possessed sufficient origin stones, one was completely capable of easily buying many Grade 3 medicinal pills in ancient desert city, and they included the Grade 3 life recovery pill that Duan Lingtian had given Feng Wudao earlier. Vice Fort Master Feng, looks like this Duan Lingtian is really turning a deaf ear to your words. Why don't I make a move myself and take him with me? Vice Fort Master Feng, you can be at ease. I'll absolutely not allow your Skywolf Fort to be tainted with a trace of blood. Dongguo Lei looked at Fenway with a reverent gaze and was awaiting Fenway's reply. He didn't dare act on his own before Fenway. In the end, Fenway nodded. Dongguo Lei started smiling when he saw Fenway nod. Ziyi Shang started smiling, Zhao Weiyi started smiling. Everyone that wished for nothing more than for Duan Lingtian to be struck with misfortune were smiling. Including Feng Wudao, Feng Tianwu, and Zhang Xiaoyang, all the people that were concerned about Duan Lingtian held grim expressions, and their expressions were as unsightly could be. Whoosh! Dongguo Lei flew out and flashed directly at Duan Lingtian. Feng Wudao appeared once more before Duan Lingtian and protected Duan Lingtian behind him. Humph! A mere 4th-level void transformation stage martial artist dares be presumptuous before this patriarch. You're courting death. Dongguo Lei grunted angrily as the origin energy on his body swept out. Instantly, the energy of the heaven and earth roiled in the sky above him before converging into the phenomenon of the heavens and the earth. Whoosh! 800 ancient horned dragon silhouettes instantly condensed into form, and they dashed out alongside him with an imposing aura that shot into the sky like a rainbow. 6th level of the void transformation stage. Many people went pale. In the entire foreign lands, the Dongguo clan was only a power that couldn't be rated in the foreign lands, yet the patriarch of a power like this actually possessed such a terrifying cultivation, and it was truly shocking. Such strength was completely capable of sweeping through the 10 dynasties. As expected of the foreign lands, that caused people of the 10 dynasties to pale just from mentioning it. It was indeed far from something that the 10 dynasties who occupied a remote place could compare to. Even a clan that couldn't even be rated in the foreign lands had the strength to sweep through the 10 dynasties. Duan Lingtian's brows raised, and he intended to directly voice out his identity as a Grade 2 alchemist. Yet right at this moment, Duan Lingtian was stunned. It wasn't only Duan Lingtian, even Feng Wudao and the other people present were stunned as well. They felt their scalps go numb as they looked at the scene that had suddenly occurred before them. Dongguo Lei, who was pouncing at Feng Wu Dao in full fury, was still on the way when his arm was severed at the shoulder and fresh blood that was dazzling and resplendent sprayed out. From the beginning until the end, all the young geniuses of the 10 dynasties, including Duan Ling Tian, didn't notice that anything was amiss. Suddenly, Dongguo Lei's arm was severed. As for Feng Wu Dao and the others, they had clearly had a brief howl of a sword instead, and because the duration the sword howl appeared was too short, if it wasn't for their strength being extraordinary, they would be utterly incapable of hearing it. The body of Dongguo Lei, who had his arm severed, shook, and he revealed a pained expression, yet forcefully endured it and didn't make a sound. He grabbed his severed arm hurriedly and tightly pressed it onto the place his arm was severed, and then his origin energy flickered with the intention of connecting his severed arm. At the same time, he couldn't help but raise his head to look up high into the sky with an expression that was filled with terror. Earlier, he'd faintly caught that sword light that descended from the sky and severed his arm. The strength of the person was so strong that it was absolutely an existence at the 7th level of the void transformation stage or above. He utterly couldn't afford to offend an existence like this. So from the beginning until the end, he didn't dare make a sound as he was deeply afraid of annoying that expert that was concealed in the shadows. Damn it! That expert wouldn't be helping Duan Ling Tian, right? Dongguo Lei's expression was extremely unsightly. His greatest worry right now was that the expert was helping Duan Ling Tian, as if it was like this, it would undoubtedly be more difficult than ascending the heavens for him to kill Duan Ling Tian. Dongguo Lei took a deep breath and looked at Feng Wei, as he knew that Feng Wei would absolutely not let off the experts that were concealed in the shadows so easily. Now, he only hoped that Feng Wei would be able to drag out and kill that expert. In this way, that bit of worry of his would vanish like mist and smoke. Who? The calm expression of Feng Wei had finally changed. However, his gaze wasn't looking high up in the sky, but it was instead looking at the herbaceous peony pavilion that was beneath Duan Ling Tian. Feng Wei, long time no see. Under numerous focused gazes, a robust middle-aged man suddenly flashed out from within the herbaceous peony pavilion. After a short moment, the middle-aged man vanished before the eyes of most people, and when he appeared once more, he was already by Suli's side. Master! Suli couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief when he saw the appearance of the robust middle-aged man. Earlier, even though his heart burned with anxiety when Duan Ling Tian was facing a crisis, yet he didn't take useless action, and he instead contacted his master endlessly. Because he knew that unless his master stood out, otherwise, even if everyone from the Darkhan dynasty sought to protect Duan Ling Tian, it would be impossible for Duan Ling Tian to survive. It was he who severed the arm of the Dongguo clan's patriarch. This expert severed the Dongguo clan's patriarch's arm so easily. I presume he's at least in existence at the 7th level of the void transformation stage or above. In this way, his strength isn't inferior to Vice Fort Master Feng. He's the master of that young genius from the Darkhan dynasty that has come to participate in the martial competition of the 10 dynasties. That young man is standing by Duan Ling Tian's side and seemed to be a friend of Duan Ling Tian's. The members of the 10 dynasties whispered in discussion. The scene before them had taken another twist, causing them to be dazed as their feelings rose and fell, and they were unable to calm down for a long time. Suli's master. Zai Shang's expression went grim. No matter what, he'd never imagined that Suli's master would actually be an expert at the 7th level of the void transformation stage or above and would make an appearance at a time like this. Duan Ling Tian was just about to be taken away by Dongguo Lei, and the interference of Suli's master had caused Zai Shang's heart to be filled with a disgruntled feeling. Now he only hoped that Feng Wei, the Vice Fort Master of Skywolf Fort, would be capable of suppressing Suli's master. On the other hand, the expressions of those people that wished for nothing more than for Duan Lingtian to die had exceedingly unsightly expressions. Only a little bit more and Duan Lingtian would have died. All of them felt extremely regretful. On the other side, besides Duan Lingtian, Feng Tianwu, and Long Yun, everyone from the Darkhan dynasty, including Feng Wudao, were shocked by Suli's master's strength. He was still in the pavilion yet was able to condense a sword from a distance and sever the arm of the Dongguo clan's patriarch. How formidable an ability was this! The Dongguo clan's patriarch was in existence at the 6th level of the void transformation stage at any rate. Even a 7th level void transformation stage expert probably might not be able to possess such a formidable strength, right? Senior. Duan Lingtian looked at Suli's master with a surprised expression. Even though he'd always known that Suli's master was present, because he didn't know Suli's master's strength clearly, so he didn't know if Suli's master would be able to save him from the hands of the Skywolf Fort's vice fort master. Now when Suli's master made a move overbearingly and severed the arm of the Dongguo clan's patriarch, it allowed him to see the light of hope. Even though he'd already had a method to deal with it, doing that would undoubtedly cause him to have to work for the Skywolf Fort. Although he was mentally prepared, his heart was still filled with unwillingness. Working for a power that had once wanted to deliver one to one's death was something that he believed no one would do willingly. Thank you, Senior. Duan Lingtian took a deep breath and bowed as he thanked Suli's master. He'd seen Suli's master twice, and Suli's master had saved his life twice. He felt respect that came from the bottom of his heart towards an existence like this. Suli's master nodded, and then he looked at Feng Wei with a gaze that was like a sword. Sword 13. Feng Wei's expression was extremely ominous, and he said angrily, "When has it been your place to interfere in how my Skywolf Fort does things?" Even though Feng Wei was enraged, yet he didn't have the slightest intention to make a move. It was even to the extent that a trace of fear was faintly mixed within the depths of his gaze. Obviously, he was afraid of the strength of Suli's master, Sword 13. Sword 13, a formidable sword cultivator of Blade Sect, and the second-ranked expert in the House of Swords in Blade Sect. Many years ago, Feng Wei had fought Sword 13 once, and in a single move, he'd lost at Sword 13's hands. The Blade Sect was a power of the foreign lands that was on par with Skywolf Fort. But even if he knew he wasn't a match for Sword 13, Feng Wei wasn't the slightest bit afraid. After all, this was the Skywolf Fort and not the Blade Sect. Not to mention his strength could only be ranked slightly below average amongst the 5 vice fort master of Skywolf Fort. There was still another fort master that was the most formidable in Skywolf Fort. I naturally can't be bothered to care about your Skywolf Fort's things. But this little brother is the friend of my closed-door disciple. It's fine if I wasn't present, but since I am, I'm truly afraid this disciple of mine wouldn't acknowledge me as his master if I stood idly by. Sword 13 said indifferently, "Besides that, do you think I don't know the purpose your Skywolf Fort is holding this martial competition of the 10 dynasties? I'll just tell you right now. Our Blade Sect wants half of the young experts that become eminent in the martial competition of the 10 dynasties." Sword 13 finished speaking in a single breath, and his words were filled with an indisputable tone. Sword 13, you don't go too far. Feng Wei's face darkened, and he was extremely furious. I hope you enjoy the video. Don't forget like, share, subscribe to channels.